Wisconsin Eye's 2014 election coverage is brought to you by the Wisconsin Hospital Association. For over 90 years, a valued voice for Wisconsin hospitals, supporting high-quality, high-value care in communities like yours.
Wisconsin Eye is at the Park Falls Library interviewing candidates in the 2014 election. We're interviewing Shirl Labarre. She's from Hayward. She's a Republican running in the 87th Assembly District. Shirl, welcome to Wisconsin Eye.
Thank you.
And a programming note, Wisconsin Eye appreciates the support of the Wisconsin Hospital Association, which represents more than 139 hospitals and health systems, for making these candidate interviews possible. Shirl, start out with a basic overview of your bio and why you're running, please.
Okay. I'm a wife, a mom, former school board member. I am a small business owner. I'm a U.S. Navy veteran and a community servant. And I have been very active in my community for many years, serving on many different boards and organizations and chairs. And I really got involved because of small business issues. And that really is the forefront. I run a plumbing business in Hayward, Mr. Ed's Plumbing, my husband and I. And we went through the tough times when the economy went into, we had like 7 employees and went down to my husband and I. And yeah, it was very devastating for us, and it was very devastating for the area. And still when I drive by, I see buildings that are empty. I think about that a lot when I drive by and I see businesses that went out of business, buildings that are gone now, that have been there for, historically. And so I really started getting very concerned about the issues in the Northland. And honestly, what really got me motivated too was the iron ore mine issue.
You have a thing on your website that says, mining, because I'm not on vacation, I live here.
That's right. I live here.
Explain that. Go ahead.
Well, the main reason for having that sign made up, actually the operating engineers 139 actually had those signs made up, and they were all over the place, up in people's yards and windows and businesses, because we have such a passion for our area. We are environmentally sound and safe up here. And then to have something that could come into our area and produce massive jobs and help the economy for everyone up here who's struggling, it was such a relief for us, and we all kind of said, let's come together here and let's fight for this. And we, iron ore mining is done very safely in Minnesota and Michigan, and they grasp it. And we have 3 of the largest mining manufacturers in the world in Milwaukee, and we have no mine. And it seems very odd to me to have that. And so I kind of became a voice for the Northland on that issue. And it was mainly as a small business owner looking at that, and as a mom and a wife, and saying, this can be done correctly. We have to make sure it is. And they have to pass like 14 different agencies, even to the Historical Society agency, the United States Historical Society. So it's not like this is not thought out and done properly. And iron ore mining in Northland would change the face of the area, and it will produce great jobs for the people that live here. And my friends and neighbors need jobs.
Another issue of vital, well, it's a vital issue of importance to Wisconsin, but especially rural schools in this area. Mm-hmm. The speaker formed a task force. Any thoughts on how to help rural schools?
Rural schools, we struggle. Our biggest cost is transportation. When I sat on the school board for Hayward Community School District, our transportation budget was like $1.8 million. That's a gigantic part of it. And we have kids that are on buses really early in the morning. We don't have a choice. There's no choice, because this is how we live up here. Yes. And we're so spread out. But I think parents are the first educators of their kids. I believe wholeheartedly that when my son was born, I was an educator immediately. You start teaching your children. And so parents, I think, need to have a choice and a say in what happens in their educating of their kids. We have charter schools. We have 2 different charter schools in Hayward, which is kind of unbelievable because, our area, the city of Hayward only has 2,400 people. But of course, the school district covers a larger compass than that. Right. But there's a Christian school as well. But the HASL, which is a Hayward Area Center for Individualized Learning, they have probably 80 students now. That's amazing. Then we have the Environmental Waters charter school, which started about 2 years ago, and it's going gangbusters. And so then that's affiliated, they're both, I mean, obviously they all fall into the little compass of the Hayward Community School District.
Right.
So the policies are followed through. And I really support that because I think the parents know better their kids, what they want. I have a friend who has her son in the environmental water school, and they do some fantastic things, and it's really helping kids that like to learn differently. And I think that's really important.
So you
too.
like the charter and the choice options?
Absolutely.
You do?
Yes.
Another issue that is very important in K-12, especially in the next legislative session, is Common Core standards. When you're asked about those, what's your answer?
Well, you know, Common Core has already been implemented in the state. It kind of slipped in there, and I think myself personally, as a parent and as someone who's been involved in education, I'm not a big supporter of the federal government having much say over what we do in our local communities. Our local communities are a lot smarter. And to me, the more we can do locally, the better off we are. No one in Madison should tell us up here how we should educate our children. No one in Washington, D.C. should tell Madison to tell us how to educate our children.
Do you think Wisconsin should follow the lead of Louisiana and 2 other states and withdraw from Common Core, Shirl?
You know, I am in favor of that. I think we could set our own standards that would be far higher. We've done well in past in Wisconsin with education. Now, saying that, obviously Common Core is in the schools. So we have to find out what we need to do. It's a lot of money that was accepted by the state, and there's a lot of money in that initiative, and I'm not really sure exactly how to go about fixing that, but I am in favor of saying there's something better than Common Core for our kids in Wisconsin.
I have a healthcare question. The federal government said to the states, if you expand your MA healthcare benefits, we'll pay for it for the first few years. Governor Walker, leaders of the Assembly and Senate said thanks but no thanks. Was that a wise decision?
I believe it is a wise decision because that's great that they're going to pay for it for the first year or two. What happens after that? No one knows. And so then is the burden going to fall back on the taxpayer? And you know, we already have issues with health care across the board. Everyone does. You know, as a small business owner, that's probably, it's extremely difficult for business owners. I talk to many of them across the area, and we face that every day, the healthcare issue. We talk about that, and we see, you know, $20,000 a year is what you pay for premiums when you just have a small family. And that's just, to me, unbelievable. And you have a $6,000 deductible because you can't, what are you going to do? You can't, if you get a $2,000 deductible or, you know, something that could be formed together as a group policy, which would be nice, but you have to have more than 2 people. And so it becomes very difficult for small businesses, especially in the Northland, because most of us are small businesses. Okay. So that, to me, seems like it would be more of a burden on us again, and I don't like burdens. Transportation
funding, highway is so important to this region, yet there's a projected $650 million deficit in the next 2-year budget of the Department of Transportation. Do we delay some of these major projects, or do we raise taxes? How would you fix it?
Well, obviously, I'm not a person in favor of raising taxes. I think we have a large tax burden on us now.
Don't raise the gas tax or what you and I pay on it for our license plates?
The license plate was just raised recently. I realized that when I went to pay mine, you know, from 48 to like 75. That's quite a jump. What always fascinates me is we never get like a little card in the mail. You know, your license fee is going to go up. You know, you just don't get that. You just all of a sudden pay it, and I think that's what happens to a lot of us now. We all feel it at the gas pump. Myself, and I know you're traveling, so you know when you're traveling, you feel that. You look at that and you say, wow, you know, gas has went up 5 cents in like 2 days, and a gallon. And when you're talking about a small business, who we cover a very large area in the Northland, it hits us. My fuel bill for my small business, which is my husband's truck on the road, is well over $1,200 a month. And you add that up over a year, and that's a lot of money. And that's not counting maintenance. You know, that doesn't count the oil changes and the tires. We just bought new tires for the truck, and it's a very large burden on people. So to me, first of all, when you say that about the transportation deficit, it's like, you know, how did that happen? You know, it just makes me want to go, why did that happen? How could it happen? How could they let that slip through there? But is it because we lost a lot of businesses? you know, over the,
We have more efficient vehicles, so
that too,
things like that.
right.
And we haven't been able to maintain our maintenance schedules, so it is a real projected deficit.
Yeah, and
It's an issue that if you're elected, you're going to be voting on next
And I
year.
will be facing that issue, and I know I'm going to take some punches on that. I'm sure I will. I'm not really sure exactly where I will stand. I will have to really look at that. I'm a person who believes in becoming informed. You know, when you're a candidate, you get surveys sent to you by tons of places.
Dozens of them.
Oh, and they all want you, of course, to lean to their side. And so you're looking at these and you just say, you know, I have to campaign and I have to do what I have to do. And that really should come when you're informed with both sides of that issue. And I really believe that.
Okay. It's so timely I'm asking all candidates this. What was your reaction to Judge Crabb's ruling on same-sex marriage?
I was a little surprised considering the voters voted the way that they did. I mean, 60% of the people made their comments known. And that's how we do it. You know, that's how we do it. Myself, I am a traditional, one person, one man, one woman. That's what I support. But, you know, it's shocking when you see judges just kind of step in and boom. And, you know, what can you say? You go forward and do the best you can.
Two candidates for Attorney General say first offense drunken driving should be a crime and not a traffic citation. Do you have a position?
I would say it's probably a crime.
Okay.
Yeah.
Big issue in Madison and Washington, raising the minimum wage. As a small business owner, how do you feel about that?
As a small business owner, and as many small business owners that I've talked to, it would devastate us. You know, it would devastate us. I know that we work on paying our people. When we have people working for us, we pay them very well. Because if they show initiative and they show and they're learning and they're doing what they're supposed to do, then as a business owner, you're going to give them an incentive. But if you're told that all of a sudden, boom, you're going to have to start them out at $10 an hour, that's going to cost you a lot more money. And in turn, you're going to charge more. And then pretty soon, you're out of a job because, you know, I mean, what, are we all going to pay $15 a cheeseburger at McDonald's? You know, and I think that's where we're all looking at it as business owners. We're going, how is this going to affect our economy, which is already, you know, kind of at a steady line. My husband and I, when people ask me, I sit on the Wisconsin Manufacturers of Commerce Small Business Committee meeting, and I go down to Madison quarterly, and we talk about, they're all over the state, the business owners come from, and we all have basically the same issues about gas, taxes, and we talk about it, and they ask me, you know, how's it going, Shirl, in the Northland, your business? And I just tell them it's going like that. It's not going like that, it's not going like that, and we're blessed for that. I'm happy, but it's still going like that. And if we have an increase in gas taxes, we have minimum wage goes up, we have to pay more for transportation, it's going to go like that because we have to pass that on to someone. And I don't know about you, but you said something about a cabin, and if you have me come out and fix your toilet, you're not going to want to pay $300 for that.
Well, let's go back to you as a small business person. Is there any one change that you'd push for in the tax code or some other incentive that would help small businesses like you and your husband operate?
Well, I think some of the regulation that we look at, you know, I know that when we started we pay a plumbing license fee, okay? And it was $250 we paid, and then all of a sudden, like I told you, you know, you don't get a card in the mail. I got this letter from Wisconsin Public and Health Safety, plumbing license for this year, $500. What?
Doubled?
Yeah, and it was in March too, by the way. And in the Northland in March, nobody has any money. we are struggling up here in March. And I was so stunned that I contacted my representative, and at the time he said, it's called bureaucracy. And I'm like, but you're the one that's pushing this bureaucracy. Do something about it. And that's kind of when I said, Dink, you know, Shirl, okay, you got to stand up and do something about some of this.
Okay. Do you want to highlight any differences between you and your opponent in the primary?
I am a small business owner. I meet payroll. I know what that's like. I also do bookkeeping for many small businesses in my community, about 7 of them at this time. And I see how they struggle. I see what their struggles are. I know what's the behind the scenes. And I think that's really important. Business owners have a grasp. You run it as a business. And I think that's the problem is a lot of people that go to Madison don't have that background. They don't have that structure. I do. And I know what it takes. I know that I can speak. I can be a strong voice for the Northland. And I think that's so important. The Northland doesn't have a lot of strong voices. And it really affects us. And the other thing that I want to take there is the incentive to work across the table. We've got to learn how to do that. The civility has been gone, and I've witnessed that, and it really kind of has affected everyone. You know, it affects families, it's affected school relationships, it's affected all of us. And when you look at that, you say, we've got to stop that. It's got to stop. And so how do you do that? Well, you work across the table, and I think that's so important. And in the Northland, we've got to do that, and we need that. We need everyone to come together in the Northland and say, we need to be a strong voice for North. It's not about. Sometimes when people tell me, "Oh yeah, I'm going to be in the North," Eau Claire. That's not the Northland. I live way up here. When I told the Milwaukee people last night, I showed them the district on a map. I brought a visual aid because I think it's really important. And from one end to the other, an 87th district, Hayward and Rib Falls, is 3 hours one way. That's almost unbelievable.
Just across that district.
Yes.
It's fascinating.
It is fascinating. And how can you possibly know what goes on there? And one of my initiatives too, when I go or get elected, is I've talked to mayors about this in Medford and in Hayward so far, about having an ad hoc committee where, because these mayors face the same issues, and so do the chairmen of the boards, and just once a quarter meet and just hear what they have to say, because they're the ones that have the lifeline in the areas. And I'm very close with a lot of them. You have to be. You have to stay in contact with board members and city council people so they can let you know what's going on in the area and what's facing the council as well, what's facing the city and what's facing the county, because it's all the same. We have a lot of tax exempt property up here. That has really hurt us. There's about 55% of the people in Hayward now paying for the taxes. And it's really devastating. And our property taxes, you know, everybody talks about property taxes going down. Well, it doesn't happen everywhere.
I understand.
Yep.
Thank you. Shirl Labarre of Hayward is a Republican candidate in the 87th Assembly District. Shirl, thanks for talking to Wisconsin Eye.
Thank you.
Thank you.